It's been stunning results. Firstly, let me just ask you this simple question. Did you expect this in Tamil Nadu?
Well, one did expect TVK to do well. There was no doubt about that. If you spoke to people on the platforms in Chennai or people who were, you generally had a conversation with in the election season, you knew that there was a kind of huge support building up for the TVK. But one thought that the TVK would end up with about, say, 15 or 20% vote share. And that would mean that they would end up number two in most constituencies in Tamil Nadu. So that is what one thought TVK would achieve. But what has finally turned out is phenomenal. It's something that one did not expect. But I would still say that this level of achievement or this level of victory is nothing compared to what NT Ramarao achieved. You mentioned MG Ramachandran, MGR's victory in 77. But then, 72 was when MGR broke away from the DMK and formed the AIADMK. But then in 82, when the party was formed, it was an absolutely new party, NT Ramarao's party, Telugu Desam party. And in 83, when the elections were held, 46% vote share was with TDP. And the Congress ended up with 60 seats and with about, I think, if I remember correctly, about 33% or 34% of vote share. So that was a massive debut. But if you compare that with what has happened today with TVK is still short of about 10 or 12 seats. We still don't know the final number. So they may be short of 10 or 12 seats. And what happens when you are short of 10 or 12 seats is what we have seen earlier in Karnataka. See, when the BJP came to power twice here, they were short of majority by a small number. So when either you have to sort of poach from the other parties, or if you build a kind of legitimate alliance with those parties, you end up giving away a lot of your portfolios. There's a lot of compromise. So we still don't know how that would pan out, but one has to concede this is a fantastic victory. And this victory is far more sweeter for a common man for the simple reason that, if there has been an election in recent times which did not take into consideration caste affiliations, if it did not take into record religious kind of concerns, then the 50 odd percent of women vote, all of that, and no use of money. That's the more important thing, because the southern states, you see a lot of use of money, buying of votes, distribution of money, kind of patronage system works in a very, very big way. And you also see a lot of dynastic networks come into play. So if there is one election in recent times which needs to be celebrated for reasons other than pure political victory, it's because the use of money in this election has played no role. See, DMK's complacency came from the fact that they thought that they could win through money. Money could be distributed, or by announcing the kind of welfarist programs that Stalin ended up announcing. He promised 8,000 rupees, increased the annual, the monthly welfare thing for women by 1,000 rupees. There were lots of things that were being said on record, but off record too. The simple purchase of vote that used to take place, that people have, I think, woken up to that or rejected that here. Why that happened, how that happened, is something to be studied by sociologists and political analysts going forward, because the numbers become clear. But there was a kind of situation for TVK where they had no candidates. He just distributed tickets randomly. In fact, a lot of friends from Chennai have been telling me that they've been asking around, who are you going to vote for? And they are just speaking about the symbol, the whistle symbol. And nobody knew who the candidate was. And sometimes, even elections are all about matching castes, creating a balance there. The tyranny of the OBC vote, which existed in Tamil Nadu, has been broken for the first time in, say, 60 years. And that's something that needs to be celebrated. We don't know if this is going forward, this is going to be the trend in India. The BJP has always been trying to create a kind of pan-India narrative, use faith and religion as a kind of pan-India narrative, try to consolidate the Hindu vote. Such things also did not play a role. But I'll come to BJP later, because I also read in this a certain kind of ideological victory for the BJP. It's not a
That's
electoral
interesting.
victory. Yes, I will tell you why a
Why?
little late.
No, go ahead. Tell us that, because my next
don't
question
think
was
it's
going to
okay.
be this.
It's
You
great.
know, one of the things that you've seen in other states, what you've seen in Assam and what you have now very convincingly seen in West Bengal is the consolidation of the Hindu vote. That's now
Right.
unquestionable.
Right.
In
right.
Kerala, you have, it's very likely that a part of the left vote has gone to BJP. Between the Congress and the BJP, possibly that has happened. In Tamil Nadu, though, this cultural Hindutva doesn't seem to have cut the ice.
Yeah, see, that is because the political culture of the state has been sort of formed in a certain way in the last 6 decades. That's right. You're absolutely right, because the political culture of the state has been very different for the last 6 decades. See, it's been built on a very different kind of diet. The BJP did try to do something, they tried to polarize last time with the Murugan kind of symbolism, which did not work then. And this time as well, they tried a few things, but, the Deepam issue that was happening and all that, but that did not cut any ice. So the voter who came out to vote broke away not just from the shackles of religion, but he also broke away from the shackles of caste. So caste and the OBC consolidation that distribution that had happened between OBC castes, between the DMK and the AIADMK, does not seem to have worked in this election. So people have come out, and there has been a certain kind of, he has created a certain universal appeal, which is something that an MGR used to create. That's something that he has recreated. But there are a lot of differences between MGR and him, which we can speak later. But then the interesting thing is why I said that there has been a kind of ideological victory for the BJP. Without the BJP BJP was not a major player. It contested 1 seat less than the Congress. In fact, 27 seats was what it contested. So it was not a major player. It conceded to the AIADMK. It allowed the AIADMK to be the bigger partner naturally. But if you observe what Prime Minister Modi has been doing in the last 5 to 6 or 7 years, he has been trying to build the civilizational argument in Tamil Nadu. He has been trying to speak about Tamil Nadu repeatedly, not just within India, but even outside India, acknowledging the Tamil antiquity of its language or its literature or its people or its civilizational kind of foundations, and also, taking the Tamil civilizational issue to Kashi, doing the Kashi Sangamam. And whenever there has been an opportunity, he has dressed up in an attire which is, the Tamil attire. And when Xi came to India, the Chinese president came to India, he took him to, the whole conclave was held in Tamil Nadu. So the focus on Tamil Nadu, while he approached Bengal in a completely different way, the cultural approach towards Tamil Nadu has been very, very different. And I think the BJP realized that they have to get somebody else to break the Dravidian kind of stranglehold of the state first.
That's interesting you are saying that.
That's I think they have now, if you look at it, the Dravidian thing has gone, in the sense that both
that's completely wiped. I don't think whether Tamil Nadu has seen this kind of a thing in its history. The way it's not just about the way DMK is gone, it's decimated for that matter. It's also AIADMK, it's not like Okay,
Right.
fine. For a very long time, you thought AIADMK was in a reboot mode. You possibly
Yes.
thought that it was a second, it had kind of defeated the DMK, but it's a politics away from what Tamil Nadu has stood for and has done for all these decades.
Correct. See, even the see, but intelligently, see, Vijay, although he did not touch the religion thing and try to use the polarization plank, he's a Christian, comes from a Hindu mother and a Christian father, and that dichotomy has been that split has been spoken about endlessly. And then, but he has a girlfriend who's a Hindu. That's one thing. And then the other thing is he very interestingly fused the progressive elements of the Dravidian culture. He spoke about Periyar. He spoke about the welfarism that the Dravidian parties are known for. And if you look at his manifesto, it's pretty interesting that he repeats that entire welfarist structure that the Dravidian parties created. In fact, he tries. It could be doles for unemployment. It could be, women empowerment kind of things. I mean, focusing on youth and women, but also a large kind of welfarist kind of idea, which he borrows quite well and implants into his own manifesto, is something made him look very inclusive. So actually, what he did was he borrowed the best of the Dravidian ideologies, and then fused it into his own kind of humanist kind of approach, and then looked very inclusive. So
Right.
is something which is very interesting. And besides that, why I also said that this ideological victory is because TVK also sort of breaks the anti-Hindi kind of rhetoric that the Dravidian parties always brought up. See, today I was watching television, and TVK supporters were trying to talk to channels from Delhi, and they were making an attempt to speak in Hindi, which was unthinkable. You're right. So there is that. So that is the reason why. That's the reason why I say that although the BJP is an insignificant presence electorally there, the ideological agenda of the BJP has been indirectly implemented in Tamil Nadu's victory.
That's
So
a very
everything is
interesting take.
broken. Yeah, everything is broken. You can now get yourself in the next elections.
Sugata Srinivasaraju, after what you are saying, it's also important to mention at this point, we don't know Vijay's stand on several issues. We
Yes.
don't know his stand when it comes to language. This entire Tamil Hindi imposition row, as it were. We don't know where he stands when it comes to NEET and several other controversial issues that have been traditionally, the pillars of Tamil Nadu politics. But I think people have been wanting a change. People
Yes.
want to see a very different nature of politics, and we'll have to see how much of that Vijay will be able to deliver. For
Yeah,
now,
he would certainly not be as rabid as the DMK. DMK almost used it as a formula. You saw it during the 131st, Parliament amendment, the recent special session to pass the
right.
131st amendment. They all came in black clothes. They spoke about the anti-Hindi postures of the BJP. They tried to create a federalist agenda, which nonsensically the Congress bought into. In fact, Congress is a national party with a national footprint, but actually started borrowing a lot of federalist ideas from the DMK.
And
So,
ironically, from what seems to have been going with Vijay now, Congress clearly seems to have missed the bus. It missed
right.
that opportunity
Yeah.
to really partner with Vijay.
And that there was a clear signal. Let me give you one example.
30 seconds, I'm totally out of time.
Yes.
I have to take a break,
See,
sir.
this Jananayakan movie was not released, but then there was another movie made around the same time called Janashakti. I forget the Parashakti.
Parashakti.
The
Parashakti.
Parashakti movie was, I think, backed indirectly by the DMK. It was
Correct.
about the anti-Hindi movement, and that movement flopped, and that film flopped. And the DMK should have taken a clue that people are just not interested in something like that. But then, they did not pay attention to a huge signal that was coming from the masses.
Right.
They just went about, doing things as usual, and they thought money could help them out.
I think that's the story across West Bengal and Tamil Nadu as well. Sugata Srinivasaraju, thank you so much for that conversation.